to be present at these meetings? To establish a handbook that will later be put up before the board?
It really is in proper governance. They should be part of the invitation. As you know from your policies, that
Right.
Yeah, and I was invited.
act as individuals.
They invited me. I have the emails to show. They invited me, and at one time I said I couldn't go, so they sent out another invitation. So I was invited. That's the only reason I was there.
But no input?
No, I was listening to them, and I wasn't doing input, but I was making suggestions. When they were bringing up information, I was listening my experiences. Have you all considered this, or what about this? And I was asked for input. What do you think? And I was politely just giving my opinion, but they were making the decisions, not me. As you can see, the decisions that are here, I'm not comfortable with, but they made them, and I would just like to see that if they could change that from 8 to 12. I'm just asking that because of the experience that I've experienced with teams and parents calling. And people again asking that they had these meetings, and some of the committee members said they were never told that the meeting was held, and they didn't know these changes were being made. So at that point, I just didn't say anything, because we have some committee members that show up. We have other committee members that don't. They all got invited. Not all of them went. I went out of courtesy for the invitation. But this is what they put in. I'm just asking that we change 8.
Thank you.
6 to 8.
Thank you, Ms. Peña, but Mr. Aguilar has a
No,
concern.
are we asking him to amend a certain statement that is in the handbook?
That's it.
And that we're asking the administration if they agree to that or disagree, and we go from then. I mean, we have to go on.
Do you have do
Mr.
I have a
Montoya?
motion for?
I made a motion on page 12 to change it. The district will fund between 8 and 12 students as opposed to 6 to 12.
But-
And you second the motion.
I second, but we were asking Dr. Montoya if he would approve the change, right? I think Dr. Escobedo
what is
said-
recommended?
Right, I just asked for your recommendations because I didn't, to me, didn't
Right.
really make a lot of sense
No,
because
we
I'm
concur.
not as familiar with it.
I have a second motion by Ms. Peña, second by Mr. Aguilar. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We now go to recommend
Thank you.
approval. of
Thank you,
choosing
Mr.
the
Russell,
best
Mr.
middle
Hans.
school-
Got it
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you, sir.
We now go to we go to item number 14, recommend approval to authorize administration to accept the 8th tennis court at Porter High School as substantial complete. And I have Ms. Longoria on this one.
Members of the board, Madam President, Mr. Garza, if you'd step up for any clarification questions, please.
Dr. Montoya, Mr. Garza, I just wanted to verify with you whether you were satisfied with the walkthrough that you all conducted.
Ms. Garcia, members of the board, Dr. Montoya. Yes, Ms. Longoria, we were satisfied. There's only, as you'll see on the punch list, 2 items that are pending. One's a training we're scheduling for next week on the lighting system. And there's 2 areas that we had to move, was the shot put area. And that area will be finished probably in the next 2 weeks too, so everything should be completed by the time school starts.
What about the second punch list that's on page 127?
The grading, that's been completed.
It's the complete landscape irrigation installation.
Yes, ma'am, that's been completed.
All of these 4 items have been. And also the cleaning, did our maintenance men crewed clean up, or was that
No, that was part of the contract.
contract? They were contracted out?
No, the contractor had to do all the cleaning, finish the landscaping, everything.
Okay. All right. That was all.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion by Ms. Peña. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Dr. Saavedra. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0. We now go to item number 15, recommend approval to authorize administration to accept Porter High School Science Laboratory Wing additions as substantial complete. Ms. Longoria?
Yes, Dr. Montoya, I noticed that some of on the punch list there were some stained tiles. Was this due to leaks on the roof or from the AC or?
It's mainly on the AC ductwork. We've been going through the punch list. If you'll see, the punch list that you have is July 27th, when we have to submit the agenda item. We've gone back, and as of 4 o'clock this afternoon, we're down to about a dozen items. So all the items, except about 12 of them, have been taken care of. In the case of the ceiling tile, I think in most cases it was the ductwork that needed additional insulation and duct tape.
So these items are still pending.
We have about a dozen items that are pending as of 4 o'clock this afternoon. I don't think any of the ceiling tile is pending. I think that's all been taken care of.
Dr. Montoya, would it be wise to wait until these 12 items are addressed before we, say it's substantially
Garza.
complete?
Garza, what do you recommend? Because you've been there several times.
Yes, my recommendation is to have substantial completion accepted tonight so that they can start moving in furniture. The reason is that until the next board meeting will be the 23rd, and by that time students will be in class. So my recommendation is to accept this now. We should finish the punch list probably this week. I have the architect here and Mr. Espinosa, our construction manager. So we can move in the furniture and then be ready for classes to start on the 22nd.
I have a question, Ms. President, if I may.
Go ahead, Ms. Penny.
Is it the punch list, or what is it, on 131, the one we're talking about? The one, because and the reason I ask is because it's provide installation of interior wood doors, including door hardware, provide vinyl floor, tile, general cleanup, and apply wax coating throughout.
It's a long
Or provide cleanup to interior, exterior. When you have people moving in stuff and moving around you, you don't get it done really well because you can't really get. I know the floor you're talking about because I saw a home had that installed and they tried to put that finishing after they moved in. It was a nightmare because you need like an open space, good air, nobody talk, nobody breathe, nothing falls on it because it sticks permanently and it becomes part of the decoration of the floor. So I have, I concur with her. Can we get all that done before we even move in anything? Can we have that?
Yes, like I mentioned, and I have Mr. Gomez here, we have to submit these agendas 12 days ahead of the board meeting. So you'll see it's the July 27th was the punch list. All those items, and correct me if I'm wrong, have been taken care of.
Yes, all the doors and hardware were in last week.
Can you come to the mic, please?
Microphone, sir.
Hi, I'm Rowan Gomez with Gomez Mendez Signs.
Do you have the punch list in front of you?
Yes, ma'am, I'm looking at it.
Okay, could you tell us which of those, and that'll make it the best way, the easiest way for me to follow you. Otherwise, I'll get confused.
And may I remind Councilor, I believe we have 2 minutes per item. Are you still taking time?
Yeah, but Ms. Blesa says if we needed more, she would gladly grant it.
Sir, you have the floor.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going down in line. 1 through 6 have been completed.
Okay.
Okay, skip 7 because that was some cleanups there because they're still working on the cabinets. A lot of it's, I'll say, door adjustments, little stuff like that. Not everything's in. 8's done. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 have been done. 15, 16, and 17, the caulking. That was still needed to be done. That was a separate subcontractor. 18's done, 19's done, 20's done. Okay, and then when you go into the next 3 pages, which were the rooms, right now there's, at 136, B136, there's 1 item. 104, there's 1 item. 105, there's 2 items. 106, there's 1 item. 107, there's 1 item. 108, 1. 91, 118, 2 items. 119, 1 item. 121, 1 item. And 131, 1 item. And that's the extent of the punch list that's there. But I'll say all of the items that are necessary to occupy the building have been done and have been...
The major work where you need a lot of room.
All of that stuff's been done. And like Cesar was saying, is in the beginning we needed to get something into your hands, and that's why the punch list is lengthy.
Okay.
Usually we don't care to do that, but now it's down to 2 pages.
Can those other things be done in the next few days?
Yes, sir. They're working on it right now.
I guess if we could get an email or something that they've been completed.
We can do that.
Exterior as well?
Yes, we can send on our weekly letter when all the punch list items have been completed. And one of the things we usually do is we can hold off if there's a room where they need to finish. We can hold off from moving furniture for a day or two. What I didn't want to do is wait till the next board meeting, because by that time we'd be too late to have the students in.
Unfortunately, we'll be in class.
Right. So we'll coordinate. We already talked to Ms. Liz Valdez, who's the interim principal there, and we'll coordinate the moving of furniture so it doesn't affect the contractor and they can finish their work in the next couple of days.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate
One more
it.
thing real quick.
Go ahead, Ms. Lombardi.
If, Dr. Montoya, if some of our maintenance workers are doing some of the cleaning, also just to ensure that we get reimbursed for that cost.
It would be the contracting company would have to produce here, right?
Yes. We don't have any maintenance personnel from BISD
There was
right
the last
now.
time we did have some maintenance workers.
At the Palo Alto, we did use maintenance to wax the floors, and we're getting reimbursed. When we close out that project, you'll see there'll be a credit for that.
Thank you. Also, you know, the reason why we question these is because I know we've ran into a couple of other situations just with the newly buildings that we approved at substantial completion. And yes, we did witness that there was our own staff cleaning. So it's only fair that if they're using our staff and we're paying their hourly wages, that we get compensated if they don't have the staff to do so. So it's a two-way here, a two-way street. So please follow up on the reimbursement, Dr. Montoya. Do I have a motion on this item? Motion by Doctor, second by Mr. Aguilar. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries 7-0. Item number 16, change order 001 to amend the owner-contractor agreement with Roth Construction, Inc. for the athletic buildings at Pace and Porter High School. Ms. Longoria, you have a question on item number 16?
Yes, ma'am. Dr. Montoya and Mr. Garza, I know this is a positive item for us.
That's correct.
I'm always questioning negatives, so I might question the positive now. Can you explain to us why we're getting the credit of this amount, $99,333?
Yes, Ms. Longoria. As we do in all our contracts with the general contractors, there's always a contingency fund, as you know, and we come and present any changes. In this case, we used the majority of the contingency fund to build the 8th tennis court, which is not part of that contract. And you recall, initially it was going to be the 2 athletic buildings and 7 tennis courts at Porter. And when we finished that, we found out we would have enough money to do the 8th. And we still had enough money left over, the $99,333 in our contingency. So now we're crediting that back to the initial contract amount, which will now be ending at $6,700,000.
Good. Thank you.
Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Just for the record, and I have circled that also. Failed to come, but it's been answered, so I move that we.
Motion by Ms. Peña, second by Mr. Aguilar. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries 7-0. We now go to item number 17, recommend approval to amend Resolution 018-10/10-11 to extend the early notification of resignation plan and reopen the time frame available for employees' requests from August the 10th through August 31st. This resolution will be available for certified, classified, and special assignment personnel. Ms. Longoria, you have a question?
Yes. Just a suggestion, Dr. Montoya. If we could add on that resolution, or perhaps work on another resolution in the near future to change the number of years for employment that you'll be eligible for employment, for reemployment. 'Cause I think right now we have it at 2 years. 2.
It's 2 years.
If we could up it maybe 4 years.
If the board will react to this particular recommendation, again, recommend that it be approved, we can in the future, should we come back, yes, we can revisit that.
And just for my peace of mind, what would be the reason for the 4 years instead of 2? Is it to keep?
Right now it's 2 years. It's, this is to kind of get back into our, a better financial status, and in 2 years it's going to come and go real quick. And we are paying them, $10,000, $5,000. So
I'm just trying to comprehend this. If we turn around and we would, let's say the 2 years go by and we rehire these people, they come in at the beginning salary, or do they come in at the top? You pay them by years experience. Is that what we're saying? So we're trying to avoid the 30 year to come back 4 years later?
Dr. Atkinson, go ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Montoya. Mrs. Peña, the district entertains the practice of placing people according to their years of experience. That has not been a decision by the board to zero out experience, nor would it be something that we would be recommending. So they don't start back at zero again, or to
as a new employee. No. And the reason I say this, Dr. Atkinson, because the state also has this practice of retiree hire. And 2 years ago, the state of Texas came in and mandated that all rehires came in at the bottom level pay, as opposed to coming in with their years of experience at that pay. So I'm just wondering, how you say ours is written that we bring them in at their years of experience? Dr. Atkinson, you're not looking at me. I'm trying to. Well, answer my question.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Answer the question.
Okay, I didn't understand. So I didn't hear it completely, because as she spoke, she pulled away. So I didn't catch the end.
Madam President.
Yes, go ahead.
Dr. Montoya, Dr. Atkinson, would you be comfortable with 4 years?
I think so. I think we could revisit that. Again, the one we have stands as is.
Right.
So we need to get that one.
This one will go with the 2 years. For another resolution,
Yes, we
it'll
can
be for
revisit.
consider the revisiting of
we
the
can
4 years.
revisit if it were to happen.
Go ahead, Mr. Aguilar.
Dr. Montoya, as long Mrs. Longoria, as long as we can in the future come back before we say let's do it, it's an automatically. I don't want it to be automatically, but if we can reconsider, the board can reconsider, or the administrator brings it over. I have no problem.
Yeah, they bring another resolution for us to vote on.
To take that into consideration.
That's correct.
Right.
Dr. Saavedra, you had a question.
The only question I had, but I think it was answered, was I know we have this will be the third time we bring this resolution back.
Yes, ma'am.
And we resurrect it, the third time. Is this it? Because I know we've run out of reasons, and the last one I think is it's credible, where there was that lapse in between for the second to now. The teachers were on vacation, so a lot of them were not aware of the resolution the second time around. How many days are we giving them?
Go ahead, Dr. Atkinson.
Okay. Yes, thank you, Dr. Montoya. The period, Dr. Saavedra, is reflected in here. We're giving them till August 31st to submit their information. It really, it's almost 3 weeks.
Right.
It's a good time period, and I can tell you that based on our calculations for HR, we would not be anticipating having to do this again the entire year or in the near future, and I'll tell you why. We had to collapse so many positions, really. There was close to 130 that had been hired in the last 2-year period that were not in keeping with our staffing formers that the district has in place. So by this time, by the mid-year, we would expect to everybody pretty much be in place and not need, to have to offer something like this again.
Okay. My other question, I've got several questions. The next question is, how many roundabout have people expressed an interest about how many are we talking about?
I would say over a dozen at this point. And mind you, we had 214 the first time, the second time 84, and right now, and that's just because we haven't sent out the email. We'll send out an email to all the employees so they're all aware of. It'll be a little release by HR that will go to the entire the entire staff.
And so the board's aware that that's been 2 minutes of board discussion. I've been excluding the questions, the time by staff.
Well, go ahead and continue since there's a couple of concerns.
One last question, if I may. how if we get a slew of teachers or professionals who opt this resolution, how will that affect our classrooms? Will we start with subs? You know, I know we have an overage right now, but I don't want like 100 and something, and then we're stuck with subs running the classrooms at the beginning of the year.
Dr. Atkinson, go ahead.
Dr. Montoya, Dr. Saavedra, given if we look at the last cycle, we had about 35 certified teachers that actually opted to take that. We have roughly about 41, 42 members that are right now part of our initiative, our Unit 12 initiative that Dr. Montoya created. So at this point, we would be any new hires to the campuses to replace any of the ones that would be participating in this would be drawn from that group first. This would actually open up some opportunities for some new hires from our applicant pool is huge.
Huge.
And there are recently graduated students that are now certified and so forth. So this actually
We have enough
Oh, absolutely, yes, ma'am.
qualified, certified.
Yes, ma'am. We feel very confident we'd be able to move forward successfully.
We really need to consider our local students that are graduating with education bachelors and bringing them into our district. Those are students that came to our district. So, well, with all that said, thank you, Dr. Saavedra. Anything else? Okay, motion by Mr. Aguilar. Do I have a second? Second by Ms. Peña. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Recommend approval to compensate certified employees for summer supplemental duties under the 2010-2011 compensation plan for the period of July 1st to end of the summer program. Mr. Aguilar?
Move to approve.
Okay, and I just had one question. So on this one, for clarification, the employees, we will be paying them $35 an hour like they were told
That's correct.
when they left, for
That is
clarification.
correct.
But it'll be on their August payroll? Is that correct for this coming, the changes?
Yes, that's
Yeah,
correct.
but for clarification, that they need to understand from now on, the pay
At
rate
the
will
new
be
rate,
at
the
the new
new
rate.
approved rate.
Just so, and okay, so that's just for the record. It's out there. Administration did go out there and find some more funding out there. Okay. Motion by Mr. Aguilar. Do I have a second? Second by Dr. Saavedra. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. Recommend approval to modify paid holidays and vacations under Board Policy DED, local to 5 days, paid holidays and 5 paid vacations to employees assigned to work 244 days, and 4 paid holidays and 3 paid vacations to food service and transportation employees assigned to work 185 days and through 187 days. Mr. Aguilar, you have a question on that one?
I did.
Mr. Aguilar, you had a question on 19?
I don't know if I circled it, but I think it's been explained to me already. So I don't have any question at this point.
Okay,
And
so,
also, actually, what William answered, we're going to give him 5 days, right?
yeah, well, why, can you have Dr. Montoya, administration, to explain? Can you explain, please, for
Yeah.
the record, that everybody understands?
Madam President, members of the board, again, this board asked us to go back and revisit that whole area as to what was feasible within the budget structure. And Mr. Garcia, if you will please explain it from that perspective.
Yes, sir. Dr. Montoya. Madam President, board members, let me give you just a little bit of information as to how the numbers come together, so that way we can see exactly where the money is coming from. It's not that we are finding additional monies. On a previous presentation, we talked about numbers being soft, and that is actually what has happened here. This was a soft number that was presented during budget time. It so happens that it is a positive for employees. And let me just go over the attachment. If you look on your page 150, what I want to do is let you know what was in place in 10-11. If you notice, under 2010, 2011, you had all those different categories of employees, starting with custodians, maintenance, security, all the way down to bus drivers. And the benefits were divided into 2 different areas. You had vacation days ranging from 10 days to 8 days, depending on what calendar they were in, and then holidays ranging from 5 days to 7 days. When you combine those two together, the cost was $2.1 million. To be exact, it was $2,113,978.92. When we went through the budget proposal, we said that we were going to be cutting a combination of holidays and vacation. Now, here's where we get into a little bit of conversation. Well, we never knew it was one, or we never knew it was the other. I did go today, actually, I went back to the March 3rd presentation when it all started back in March 3rd. And when you get to that section, and if you all want a copy, I can certainly email you and make those copies available. There is a little, I think that the number is a little number 2, which means that there is a footnote that goes with it. So when you go to the second page, if you go to the footnote, it goes into detail as to what administration was thinking, and it was a combination of holidays and vacation. Now, throughout, as Proposal 1 became Proposal 2, Proposal 3, Draft 5, all the way to Draft 6, those footnotes were left out somewhere along the way, but originally, that was the actual intent. With that being said, then let me get into how the soft number comes around. So during budget presentation, we went ahead and said, okay, we are estimating that we need a savings of $872,000. That's more or less. If you look on your final proposal and your final budget, you will see that number, 872. Actually, I can probably get you the exact number if you so would like to, but it's very close to that amount. So we were saving 872. When we eliminated all the vacations, which would be your cost, go up to the top part. When we eliminated all the vacations, the actual savings was $1,267,270. So we were anticipating $872,000 worth of savings. By eliminating the vacation, it actually came to $1,267,270. So then, at that point, a couple of conversations happened. Conversation number 1 was, okay, let's go ahead and notify our employees, come up with an easy-to-follow memo notifying them that we are doing away with the holidays. It's because of the financial situations that we're in and things of the sort. And we had started to work on that memo. At the same time, and this, I think everybody was on the same page, all the board members, administration is, well, wait a minute, you know, is there something, you can hear me? Is there something there? Okay, very good. Is there something more that we can do for our employees? So we started looking, I think at the previous board meeting, Dr. Escobedo, Mr. Aguilar, and other board members said, well, let's go out there, see what else we can do. So when we went out there, we knew that there was a soft number of about $400,000 or so. So we went ahead and now started working with how much more can we give our employees. So if you look at the third proposal, that's proposal number 3, you will notice something very different, and I will mention it, and then we can go into discussion. When we started working with the numbers, and the soft numbers, quote unquote, became hard numbers, we also noticed that there was a group that met the same criteria, which were our police officers, met the same criteria as all these other individuals that were getting vacations and holidays, but for whatever reason, they had been excluded previously. So if we're going to go back and we're going to start fixing the situation, making it equitable, trying to get everybody included, which I think that that's the objective, we said, okay, well, how many police officers are we talking about? We're talking about 39. If you notice on proposal, the last proposal, it includes the police officers there. We are giving them now their vacations and holidays. We're putting everybody that's similar calendars. Now we feel that everybody's at least on the same page. So taking into consideration the money that we had available, not new money. I want to stress that it's not new money, because you know it's not that we're finding money, it's that we're just being again, the numbers are becoming hard numbers here. We took those and tried to take the advice or the recommendations from the board, saying try to give them at least 5. There were a lot of public comments out there that said, you know, give us at least 3, give us at least 5. So how can we work with all those factors to try to come out with something that we feel is perhaps not the best scenario, but it's the best that we can do with the financial resources that we have. So when we did that, we started working with the numbers, and it winds up being that we were able to now have 5 vacation days for those that are working year-round, 3 vacation days for those that are working 185 and 187 days, plus then 5 holidays for those that are year-round, plus 4 vacation days. 4 holidays for those that are working the lesser amounts. So if you start making the math, let's just take, there's really just 2 sets. The ones that got 5 plus 5 gives you now 10, as opposed to 7 that they had before. So they're picking up 3 days. The other ones had 5 days, and now they're picking up 7 days. So in order to work with what we had, we were able to increase one group 3 days, the other group 2 days. Now, well, what's the cost of 1 day and 2 days? It winds up being, and this is an approximation, that the cost of to give the whole group a 1 day cost is about $157,000. So when you take your additional days, you wind up being short. If you notice on the cover, it says fiscal implications of approximately $134,000. That's how much more it's costing from the allotted savings. So in essence, instead of saving the $872,000, we are now saving $737,629. So it is 134. The real picture is that you are actually spending an additional $412,248. That's important, because I heard from members and from different areas, well, if it's just $100,000 more per day, why can't we just give it all the way up to 10? But it's really not that. It's costing you about approximately $412,248.
I have a question.
Yes.
Mrs. Plesas?
I'm still in my question.
Oh,
He still has the floor.
I think this compromise was much better. The one we were talking about was in the policy committee.
That's correct. That's correct.
And we were looking at 7 days, but then if you really, then we said 3 days, and you quoted $465,000. It was going to cost us. That's what the theory you gave me that particular day.
Yes, sir.
But I think this plan is even better, even though we're not going to get the 7 days. But everybody's getting some kind of vacation, and it totals to 10 really, because at one time they got 7 holidays, paid holidays to some of them, and the 3 we were looking at it's 10 days. So now it's 5 and 5. Still count 5 days, and I think it's a good compromise. I think everybody's a winner. According to what I'm reading here, I don't know if that's it when it comes to reality, it is, but that's what it is.
I have a question, Ms.
Go ahead,
Plesas.
Ms. Peña.
Okay, so in reality, from the beginning, those that used to have 17 days, because it was 10 vacation and 7 holidays, 17 days, now only have 10, as opposed to 0. So they got 10 restored, as opposed to having 0 restored. Am I correct?
That is, remember, if you look at if you want to
I'm
go
going from 2010 to 11.
right. Yes.
Okay, thank you. And then those that had 13 days are now going to have 7 days restored, as opposed to having 0.
No. No. Okay, they had 17, and now they're going to have 10.
Okay,
they had 13, and now they have 7. They're only getting
Okay,
restored 3 and 2.
Can you
Sorry.
get on page? Maybe I'm confused. 150.
Yes.
On the very top where it says food service workers, 346, $29,000, vacation days 8, holidays 5. That's 2010, 2011.
Yes, ma'am.
So then we go down to the proposed food service workers, 346, $29,000, vacation 3, holidays 5. So unless I'm using a different math. I'm sorry.
It's 4,
3
ma'am.
and 4. So
Yes.
3, you have 8. So you took away 5 because you gave them back 3, right? Because it has 8 at the top. Unless I'm misreading
No,
that.
it's 5. Okay, the first part you got right. It is 8 plus 5 would be 13 on the top part. Then
Right.
when you get to the bottom, it's 4 and 3, so it's 7.
That's what I'm saying. So they lost only 6 as opposed to all 13,
That's correct.
right?
Yes.
Okay, that's okay.
That's
and,
correct.
And before, help me understand this. The police officers, you said that they weren't on here before.
That's correct.
So then they will see an increase in their paycheck because now they have something they didn't have before.
They will now be they're going to be paid their vacations and their holidays.
So they'll have a little increase in there.
Yes.
And now the people that we took money out because, we were doing this adjustment before you brought this to us today, you know how so are we going to kind of
That's
like next paycheck is going to be less money instead of the same amount?
Let me
2
explain
minutes of
that.
board
That's
discussion.
can I
Can you explain it so the
can I answer the question?
Yeah,
Yes?
Ms. Peña, go ahead and allow him to answer to your question, and then you continue with another
Thank you,
question.
dear.
We'll go ahead and continue a little bit further.
Okay.
Mr. Michaud.
Go
Go
Madam
ahead,
President, Ms. Peña, you bring up a good point. Here's, and I wanted to bring this point out on the presentation. The public was saying, you're garnishing my wages. Garnishing means that you're taking away money that, for whatever reason, some person mentioned, well, alimony or taxes or things of this sort. We're not garnishing the taxes. What we're doing is that the pay is averaged out over the length of a year. The purpose is to prevent the employee from not receiving a paycheck on the last pay period of the year. So again, we were doing it so that at the end of the year, they're not left with one pay period, which is 2 weeks,
Right.
without a paycheck.
Right.
So we're not garnishing. Now, Mr. What was his name? Mr. Trevino mentioned, made a good point. He said, well, you should have let me decide whether we do that or not. Now, we're willing, administration is willing to go out there, take a survey, work with their representatives here, make them earn their money here, and then come up and say, if this is what the employees want, that they want to be without a paycheck at the end, but it has to be majority. It cannot be certain ones yes and certain no. Then that's fine. We have no issues with that. We're willing to work. We're putting it on the table. We can get you a survey. We can get back to the board and say, okay, this is what they're saying, and we can work from there. So it's not that we're taking money away. We're just saving it for them for the last pay period.
I can get over the time period.
And if I may,
Question, Ms.
I
Garcia?
have one more. Sorry, dear. So then my thing is that they're going to have less pay taken from them now because we're giving them some days back. Am I correct?
That is correct. It does lower the amount.
And the problem and the concept is because city government, state government, federal government, county government, no one, if you don't take vacation days or you lose vacation days or you lose a holiday the way we did in the state, well, you don't see it in your pay. It's a very unique creature, for a lack of a better word, that here you pay the vacation days. So then when you take them away, you got to take the money away because you have this system where you pay them in advance. Am I right?
A spread pay.
Yeah, spread pay. So that's what's confusing because other places lose vacation days. They don't get a decrease in pay. They gain vacation days. They don't get an increase in pay. And I think that's a confusion with the community.
Right. One other thing that I want for the public to know, and especially our hardworking employees, we know that they're really the backbone of our school district. Right up there with our teachers. One of the other things that I would like to just remind them, we did not take away any of the 10 days that we gave out for sick leave and local leave. Those are still there. I know that there was some confusion. Well, maybe you took those 10. So you have those 10 of sick leave, local leaves, plus now you have a combination of either 10 days here, 5 and 5 holidays, or 3 and 4, 7. And again, I mean, I know where the board wants to go. I know where administration wants to go. But at this time, because of our financial situation, it's very difficult to go any further than this.
So the local days and sick leave are in their pay also. If we were to take it, you would take the money too?
No, those are used in case that they are sick. Then they can call in. They use one of those days or a personal day, and their check or their payroll doesn't get deducted. They don't lose any money on that. They have 10.
Thank you, sir. Go ahead.
Madam
Go ahead,
President,
Dr.
I
Escobedo.
move to approve item 19.
Oh, Lucy had a question, Mr.
Go ahead.
Sorry,
Ms.
Doc,
Longoria.
just real quick. Mr. Garcia, I have a report here that was given to us back in March, and it's the proposed budget savings. And I was noticing that they were proposing less work days for classified people. Should you had gone with the less days, and the reduce of the holidays, would that made a bigger difference in their pay check?
Absolutely. I'm sorry, Madam President and Dr. Montoya. Absolutely. The original, if you go back to the original and you start counting days, they were scheduled to lose 22 days. 22 days originally.
Okay.
Yeah, that would just
Okay,
almost
great.
a month, working days.
So thank you for making the right choice.
Thank you, Ms. Longoria, for bringing up that point, because those are things that people are overlooking. And again, let me reiterate. I'm going to ask administration, the numbers are more solid. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Financially solid. So we're looking for stability in the district in the finance. We're looking into hurting our staff. The least collateral damage, like I've said it before, over and over in every meeting. So with prior administration, their recommendation, not Dr. Montoya, not the interim, it was that we were going to lose 22 days for our staff, and we fought it. And I think that we have done everything we can to make sure, like I heard Mr. Aguilar a few minutes ago, he's very pleased with what he sees here. And I think that, I'd like to commend this administration, because we've been going back and trying to twig and work and trying to make sure that the people understand that at no time do we want to hurt anybody's financial pocket. But we got to take care of our district financially as well. It's a two-way street. I have a motion by Dr. Escobedo. Do I have a second?
I want to make a statement. May I?
Yes, go ahead, Mr.
That is true. When we started, there were rough figures. I mean, there's extreme budgets. And since then, we've been all cutting. In fact, at one time, we were considering taking all these 3 against classified people. And little by little, as we went along, the board decided to start cutting some of these things, including teacher stipends and all these things. However, now that we've reached this compromise, I'm pleased with the compromise. We cannot give back the 10 days, but at least now they have 5 days, which is good rather than a 0. And what I'm pleased about this resolution is that all employees at least have some vacation days. And for that, I'm very pleased.
Thank you. And they also have a job, Mr. Aguilar. A lot of
I think if their job, it was our responsibility from the very beginning to say we're not going to fire anyone.
Yes. So thank you so very much to administration. I have a motion by Dr. Escobedo. Do I have a second? Second by Dr. Saavedra. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries 7-0. We now go to discuss consideration possible action to name the new Performance Art Instruction Center after former Hannah Band Director and former Assistant Superintendent for the Fine Arts. And this is a board member's request, Mr. Rolando Aguilar.
Yes, what I did, and I think you got some of the back information on it, that this is a fine arts instructional center, and I don't believe that the person that we recommended has done tremendous work in our district with young people at band, and I know that everybody's going to say, well, it's a policy, but the policy says name in schools. It does not say about
or other facilities.
So in the past, the board has also done this, make an exception of doing this, and it's Palo Alto, and also the baseball field at Hannah is named after somebody else, and also the Murphy Center. No, so there had been a precedent being set already. So that is why I submitted this.
Go ahead, Dr. Escobedo.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I don't disagree. It is a good idea to name it because it is a Hannah facility, the auditorium there at Hannah. I think that we should be open to recommendations from the school itself, to have the faculty and staff submit their recommendations to us, because it's their schools, they live, they work, they study there, and they should have a significant input as to what we name this auditorium. My recommendation would be to postpone the action tonight and open the nominations from the school itself.
Ms. Longoria, you have a...
I concur with Dr. Escobedo. And maybe perhaps also open it up to the public, because I know that's the way it was done for Manzano, Pullum, and forgot the other.
The other
Raquel Peña.
Newest buildings that we have.
And I'm sure his name will come up because he was very influential and did start the program when we only had that one high school. So he's been around for years. So I'm sure his name will come up as others, you know, and then put it up for that, just to be fair, that we're not just selecting somebody, you know, but giving the process an opportunity to, and the community, especially the faculty. A lot of the faculty at Hannah are still there.
Yeah.
So that's a good point.
And the reason I would like to limit it to Hannah, because if we open it to everybody, we will get a tremendous amount of nominations, and it makes a difficult job even harder. You know, so that's why I would suggest limiting it to the faculty and staff of Hannah. Whatever they suggest, previous graduates, maybe one of their students, one of their graduates, gave their life for this country. I don't know. I want their recommendations.
That's been 2 minutes of board discussion.
Thank you. I second it. All those in favor for Dr. Escobedo's recommendation?
A point of order, man. There's
I'm sorry.
there's an item here. Either you put it down or
Do we need to vote?
That item
Yeah.
as
So on,
is.
We have to act on this one.
So yeah,
Do you
well,
wanna
we have
table it?
In other words, you
Do
have to
you-
vote this one down first if you want to
Yeah.
put a new one.
I'd like to make a motion that we go ahead with my recommendation.
I second the
motion
motion.
by Mr. Aguilar, second by Ms. Peña. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? Nay. Motion fails. 3 nays, 4 yeas.
Good.
We now go to opening up for the motion. Motion for the recommendation. Get
I move to open the floor or to let me see how can I word this. I wasn't expecting. I very carefully. I move to allow Hannah High School, the faculty and staff, to submit nominations to the board as to what they would like to name their new auditorium.
motion by Dr. Escobedo, second by Dr. Saavedra. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those against? 3 nays, 4 yeas. So administration will notify the Hannah administration and proceed.
And Mrs.
And he was again one of the band directors, as a matter of fact,
Mrs. Plesas.
here at Hannah, if I'm not mistaken. So, like Dr. Saavedra says, who doesn't know him? I mean, he spent a lot of time in the district. So,
And even though we didn't set a timeline,
Mrs.
I'm sorry.
Plesas.
yeah.
I've asked you to address
I
me,
know.
and he
I
spoke
will.
out without being addressed.
I will. I'm going to go first. Let me finish. I was talking also, Ms. Peña. I was talking also, Ms. Peña. Okay, but I was looking at him. I was just going to get there. Thank you, Ms. Peña. So if you can allow, if you can go ahead and contact administration, and then
Dr. Escobedo had a good point. Do you want, what kind of a timeline would you
Well,
like?
obviously, school's about to start, and there's other pressing matters, but I'm not sure when the auditorium is scheduled to be completed. If it's not too soon, when is the auditorium scheduled to be completed?
Mr. Dr. Montoya, could you address your staff, please, for this question?
Again, if you follow policy, your policy, it does state at least 6 months before. If you follow the policy, you know, so.
At least, okay.
And that would give us obviously a few months. Mr. Garza, do we have an estimated time period for that facility to be finished?
Yes, January of this coming year.
Okay.
January 2012. There's
So
January
that's
of
about
12?
almost 6
January
months.
2012. So that puts us into that timing.
Yeah, puts it into
time
that
frame.
time. So.
Yes. So under CW local dedication of projects and the naming of the school building or other facilities, the following guidelines shall be used. So as per policy, we're going to adhere, correct, and then we'll bring it back to the board, and once that their staff participates. Go ahead, Ms. Peña.
And just for the record, when I voted against going to Hannah, it's not against Hannah. It's just that this gentleman was part of that building also, and he's contributed a lot. So I want to make sure that Hannah understands when my vote no for Hannah is not against Hannah, because that's one of the best schools we have, and I love that staff. But the fact that my vote is for this gentleman, for everything he's contributed to our community and our society.
Thank you, Ms. Peña. We understand. So can we maybe follow up with a policy attachment, Dr. Montoya, to the staff so they can also know that we're following the policy?
Yes, ma'am, we can do that.
We now go to item number 22, which is discuss consideration possible action regarding classified employees' vacation days. That was already addressed by administration.
So yes, I'm done with
Then
that.
we go down to, that was also a That's an administrative decision. Number 23, discuss consideration possible action regarding forensic auditor timeline. And this is by board
Myself.
members. Dr. Saavedra, you have a question on it?
I'm first, because
Go ahead, Ms. Peña.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead, Ms.
No,
Peña. It's your item.
For the audit, I was just wondering if the timeline, did we go 5 years? Or we went. I looked at the tapes because I wasn't here, and I saw that we went 3 years. And I was just asking if we could go 5 years, because if in fact something was done wrong, and our timeline takes us back 5 years, but you cut him to 3, because the statute of limitations to charge someone with a crime is 5 years, that we allow our auditor to go back the 5 years that will give him to prosecute if someone 5 years ago committed a criminal act with our monies. I wanted to do it just for that reason.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dr.
And my
Saavedra.
question was, what is the recommendation by administration? Because you all are the ones that are taking care of that.
We are recommending 3 years at this time. 5 years would add a lot more expense if that's what the board would like, but our recommendation is 3 years.
Mrs. Pesas,
Go ahead, Mr. Aguilar.
Dr. Montoya, you're trying to save money and you're trying to follow the truth, but you're not willing to go 5 years. That happened. So what you're saying is only 3 years good enough to find something at fault at this audit. So if you want to be fair, it really should be 5 years. Things can happen because year after year is the same thing.
Yeah, Dr. Montoya.
So,
Can you address it to the staff that's handling the...
Mr. Garcia, if you'd like to share some ideas there.
Dr. Montoya, I just wanted to make sure that that we reiterate, and maybe Pat Bettis might be able to help us, but our understanding is that the vote that was taken by the board previously spoke directly on the scope as well as the timeline. So I would just want to make sure that we're not trying to reopen a discussion and a decision that was already made by the board, because that was our direction. We've already started negotiations with one of the firms. Now we're getting ready to speak to the others. So if you're going to redo this, I think it's going to place us in a...
May I direct myself to legal, Ms. Casas?
Miss, let me address Ms. Longoria, and then you address legal.
Thank you.
Ms. Longoria, I'm sorry. You had a concern?
No, go ahead.
Go ahead, Ms. Peña. Address yourself to legal.
Mr. Michel, if during the scope of the investigation, we're going back 3 years, and somehow, somewhere, they stumble upon something that's 5 years old. My only concern is that the auditor in the district have the opportunity to take action on something that's 5 years old, because the statute of limitation is still within the 5 years, and not we're going to come back and say, well, you know what, that's more than 3 years, so we're going to leave it alone. I just want to make sure that we go across the board, because I don't want to look kind of, like we don't know what we're doing.
Go ahead.
He's going to answer.
So,
Well,
what do you think? If they stumble upon something,
If the concern is because they're only going back 3 years and they come across something,
Right.
they can always come back to the board for additional authority and,
Okay.
and probably
Okay.
cost at the time.
I just don't want them. I just don't want Mr. Michel. I just don't want administration to feel, well, they said 3 years. Should we take to them? Yes or no? I want them to feel comfortable. That's what I want.
Go ahead,
Yes,
Ms. Longoria.
I recalled when they presented, they both, the three presenters did mention that if there was a need to go more than 3 years, that would let us know. So, I welcome going 5 years, maybe even 17 years.
That'll be a little too costly.
That's too
That's
long.
too costly.
Station of limitation, because it doesn't. You can't charge after
Go ahead,
so
doctor.
many years. So.
What's going
I
on?
just want to say that I'm very happy, Mrs. Peña, that you agree with this audit. You've been against it since the beginning.
I was never against it. I was against your process.
And now you want to
He's got
conduct
the
it even
floor.
longer.
Do
So
not
I'm
make false
happy that
statements.
now
Thank
you're
you.
in favor
Do
of the
not make
audit.
false
Thank you so
statements.
much.
Thank you. Do I have a motion on the table?
Always.
We can agree to disagree.
Yes.
Do I have a motion on the table?
For what?
Motion?
For what? This is just discussion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it was just discussion.
Just discussion.
No action.
Sorry.
No action. I guess she was trying to question about the 5 years. But for clarification, we're going to move on to the next item number. Item number 24, discuss consideration possible action regarding rescheduling board meeting of August 23rd to August 30th due to the 23rd being the second day of new school year. Ms. Peña, that's another item that you're bringing on to
I know,
the
but
table.
I know I wasn't here, but I was just wondering, did we take into consideration that that's the second day of school and parents are like, in their faces like, oh my gosh, why is my child not in that school? And the second day of school, new year, we're going to have them work on meeting Monday. They get ready for the meeting, and they got the parents. So I'm just trying to consider the administration.
Administration, how do you feel? You know you can get the work done and
Yes.
still have a
and
meeting?
again, remember that the 31st is graduation also, so no matter which day we move, so we might as well just leave it, our recommendation, for the same day.
I was just.
Thank you, Dr. Montoya. We now move along to item number 25, discuss consideration possible action.
No action.
No action.
No action, item number 24, as per administration's recommendation. We go to item number 25, discuss consideration, 25? 25, consideration and possible action regarding employee grievance procedures. Ms. Peña, this is your item.
Yeah, no, just real quick, correct me if I'm wrong, that we had sometime discussed, Dr. Montoya, Mrs. Presas, and administration, that the grievance procedures would be put in the policy books to the classified employees, and the certified employees would have the same grievance procedures. I'm just wondering if was that ever brought up, clarified, or discussed, because I looked at the last meeting that I missed, and I got the CDs and I went through them, some of the meetings that I wasn't here, and the meetings that I was here, and I remember discussing that. What happened?
It's our understanding, if I read it correctly, they do. It is there. They do, and we've also, I know, have been meeting with some of the union representatives to interact on that issue. But Dr. A, if you want to deal with that one more specific.
Dr. Montoya, members of the board, yes, Mrs. Peña, to address your question, the employee grievance procedures are that's our GGBA, and that is open to our classified and certified staff. So there is no difference in the procedures for them.
Well, I guess I was then I was misled, or I misunderstood, where you can be released without having due process to find out.
And that's a separate issue, and I don't know if that's something.
Is that something in our policy? That's what I'm asking.
That's not related to the employee grievance procedure, so I don't.
Okay, well, okay then. I will discuss it with Dr. Montoya so we can explain it in a little more detail, because I was given wrong information, so I apologize.
Thank you. So you will direct yourself to Dr. Montoya on that issue. No action. We now go to item number 26, discuss consideration and possible action regarding employee local leave days. That's also your item, Ms. Peña.
Yes, I had a question somebody brought up to me, and in fact several people called me, and I've been trying to when they retire and they have so many days, they get so many days paid, like let's say 30 days paid, Dr. Montoya, am I correct?
That's correct, but Dr. Atkinson, you have that specific information.
Yes, Dr. Montoya, members of the board, just kind of as, I guess, just a recap of our policy committee meeting, the board had given us some direction that we would be meeting with our association, as well as giving the campuses an opportunity and our departments an opportunity to provide some feedback. So we weren't prepared to make any type of presentation. This is, again, a board policy that is not reflected, and I just would hate for us to.
Okay, my question, I guess, is nothing's been done on this. It still is as is. Nothing's happened to what stands now.
No, again, according to the board direction that we received, no, ma'am. We're following the directions that we received previously.
Thank you. Again, I got wrong information. I appreciate that. Thank you. No action.
Item number 26, no action. Now we go to recommend approval of the following payments. Item number 27, recommend approval for payment of $9,145.48 to Walsh, Anderson, Gallegos, and Green. Ms. Longoria, you have a question?
Yes, ma'am. Dr. Montoya, is this going to be the final bill, or is there more to come?
I believe that, Mr. Garcia, go ahead.
Yes, Madam President, Dr. Montoya, Ms. Longoria. I guess the easy answer would be there is more to come. This is part of these bills that are coming here and are being recommended for approval are actually coming through our errors and omission policy. Remember that policy, of course, has a $50,000 deductible. And I asked, okay, well, how do attorneys get the cases
appointed
and things of this sort? And this is coming from our carrier. It says the E&O policy is $50,000 and that attorneys are assigned by the insurance companies. Companies have a list of attorneys and base their decision based on past performance and areas of expertise. So I'm assuming that there will be more coming through. We do take these bills and then refer them to our legal. He then, in this case, Mr. Michel, looks at them, reviews them, and then gives us something in writing saying, yes, this is acceptable, go ahead and process.
Yeah, reasonable and necessary.
Reasonable and necessary.
Yeah, I was just wondering, couldn't our firm that we have right now handle these cases? Why do we have to pay two different attorneys or two different law firms?
If I may address it, I have had conversations with the carrier, not necessarily for my firm, but to allow more flexibility in who you have the choice of counsel. Your particular errors and omissions firm seems pretty set on using the firms that it uses. So, frankly, I think your options would only be to look to see if there's another errors and omissions carrier who offers you a good value that you'd like to look at, because they have been unwilling, and that's a perfectly legitimate business decision from their point of view. But there are districts that want more flexibility, and you can shop around whenever your contract is up and it's appropriate. I think that's, if that's your concern, I think that's really the way to address it.
So in reality, the errors and omissions, it boils down to whoever holds the contract with us right now.
Right. I mean, I've been familiar and worked with a number, and they vary in how much flexibility they give the district in selecting the counsel of its choice.
Okay. Thank you. Go ahead.
So, in essence, what you're saying is the errors and omission, they choose who they want to pick to represent them and fight for them, because the big pie comes out of their pocket if they happen to lose the case, right?
That's what they bargain for. As Mr. Garcia said, it's a contractual term.
Yeah, so that's why they pick, and they're pretty set on the person they picked, and that's how they're doing it. Is that what happened?
That's how this one does. Others do it the same way. Others provide more flexibility. It just depends. I mean, there's a market for this.
No, really, it wasn't anything out of our control. It was them making that choice.
Correct. In this instance.
Anything in our control. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion by Ms. Peña. Do I have a second? Second by Dr. Saavedra. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. We now go to item number 30, recommend approval to pay ERO Architects, Inc. $3,830 with 66 cents for Hannah High School Performing Arts Instructional Facility, and Rabba Kisner Consultants, Inc. $478 and 50 cents. Daniel Breeden Elementary School for a grand total of $4,309 with 16 cents to be paid from Local Maintenance Fund 199 Qualified School Construction Bond Fund 190. Ms. Longoria?
Yes, ma'am. I was noticing here on page 206 for Dan Breeden Elementary, percentage of work completed 55%. Is this correct? Because I thought the school was going to be finished by the end of this month.
Mr. Garza, I also believe it's a lot higher than that.
Ms. Longoria, the 55% refers to the total work that was quoted by Rabba Kisner Consultants. As you notice, there's a lot remaining balance. Actually, we're going to get reimbursed money because we've only spent about 55% of the total amount that they quoted. So, as you reference right now, the building is finished, and Rabba Kirchner pretty much has finished their work. So when we close this PO, which originally was for about $110,000, we're going to get a little bit over $50,000 reimbursed.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Any other comments or questions from the board? Thank you, Mr. Garza. Do I have a motion to approve?
Move to
item 30?
approve.
I have a motion by Mrs. Peña, seconded by Dr. Saavedra. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed unanimously. Our president stepped off for a moment. Moving on to item 43. Recommend approval of budget amendment number 012 in the amount of $15,456,000 for Fund 394 Life Skills Grant. This is carryover funding. I'll open the floor for discussion. Mrs. Longoria.
Yes, Dr. Montoya, I would just like to ask you to ensure that these monies are used in our life skills units. because that's where they're mostly needed.
We will monitor that and comply with your request.
Dr. Montoya, let me just, if I may.
Sir?
Yes, sir. First of all, the amount is 15,456. I know you said 15 million, and I don't want to say, where's my 50 million?
The little big one.
I appreciate the clarification. It is
Everybody was throwing the party.
$15,456.
It's
Thank you.
Yes, sir, 15,000. And although, yes, it is called Life Skills Grant, and we usually associate life skills with special education, this is actually being a grant that has been in the Lincoln Park or campus for, I guess, parents or moms. So the money is actually for Lincoln Park. Originally, the entitlement was $87,266. They've spent $71,770. So whatever is left over, and this is unfortunately the last year that this grant is available, there's $15,496 left, and we have until August 31st to spend them. And I know that Mr. Hernandez is already waiting for this budget to carry over so that he can then spend the money.
Okay. I'm hitting that age where periods and commas begin to look very similar, right?
And appear and disappear.
Thank you, Doctor. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion by Ms. Peña, second by Dr. Saavedra. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries 7-0. We now go to item number 54. Recommend approval to enter into Memorandum of Understanding with Niños Head Start to implement a school readiness integration model for eligible Head Start pre-kindergarten students for the 2011-2012 school year. Services to be rendered are subject to the district's needs and funding. Ms. Peña? Ms. Longoria, you have a question.
Yes, Dr. Montoya, I'm looking here under fiscal implications. We're going to pay $90,000. And it also notes here that DJ Lerma and Cameron Park Head Start teachers' salaries will be recuperated by ADA at both sites. Why
clarification?
Can you clarify why we're?
Madam President, members of the board, Ms. Monfiles, I think you have the specific information on that.
Madam President, Dr. Montoya, members of the board, the teachers are DJ Lerma teachers, and the students with them at the Head Start, the BISD collects the average daily attendance. And so we pay the teachers, but our attendance of those pre-kindergarten students comes back to the district. So we're just about breaking even. We have to keep working on the attendance of these 4-year-olds so that they come to school, that we keep them enrolled, because it's a matter of paying the teacher's salary, but getting the annual average daily attendance so that we're breaking even.
Okay.
And the principals at Vermillion and Burns are the individuals who work with those Head Starts and the teachers at the Head Start. They are included in the staff development. They participate in the training. They do all of the assessments that our pre-kindergarten students do.
This Ms. Monfiles has been in place for a while, is that correct?
3 or 4 years, yes, sir. There's been some rough spots, but it's a good
For several
initiative,
years.
and so we keep improving, learning from our evaluations and improving.
Okay. Thank you.
With no further questions, do I have a motion for item number 54?
Move to approve.
Motion by Dr. Escobedo, second by Mr. Aguilar. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries 7-0. We now go to recommend approval of the following bids, proposals, purchase. Recommending approval to accept the negotiated fee for RFQs 11-095 standbys, geotechnical engineering and construction materials for the Lopez and Rivera High School Science Laboratory Additions project from Terracana Consultants, Inc., out of FAR, Texas, in the amount not to exceed $32,990 to be paid from Science Laboratory Grant and local monies from Maintenance Fund 199. Ms. Longoria?
I'm okay with that now.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion by Ms. Peña. Do I have a second? Second by Dr. Saavedra. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries 7-0. The board will now go to executive session under as pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 55.071 and 55.072, 551.074, and 551.082, and 551.084 for personnel matters. through the items. Item number 59 through 59, 64, 65, 66, all the way through 73.
73. Okay.
Yes, it was items through 73.
I move that we approve 59 through 73.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Peña, second by Dr. Saavedra. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Madam President?
Yes. Oh, yes, I have a couple. Yes.
I'd like to abstain on 71.
Okay, so let the records reflect that for Mr. Colunga, he will abstain. That'll be 6 and 1 abstain. And also for Dr. Escobedo.
Madam President, I'll be abstaining on item 64 and on item 72 only SPA. That's all.
On
Everything
64.
else I'm in favor. Yeah, I'm abstaining on 64.
Oh, 64.
And on 72, I'm abstaining on SPA.
Okay.
Other than that, I vote in favor.
Okay, so all that is 4 on 64, and on 72, 6 and 1 abstain.
Hold on. I'm abstaining number 64, and those are 65.
So you're abstaining on, so 2 abstains. Motion passes 5 with 2 abstain. Yeah. Yes. Yes. So
But if you need us to repeat, we'll gladly do. You got
62
it? Okay.
is 5 yay and 2 abstain, and 72 is 5 yay and 2 abstain. All the other items pass with a
also.
6.
Remember 64?
Yeah, I already said it. 64 and 72, 5-2. 5-4 and 2 abstain. The rest pass.
And 65, Mija? 64, 65, and 70.
65 passed.
Yeah, but they have abstains.
Madam President, may I suggest that we just rapidly go one by one?
Okay, item 64, it was already called 5-4, 2 abstain. Item number 65, recommend approval term contractual, Chapter 21 personnel, Assistant Superintendent.
5-2.
That was 5.
5-2. 5-4 is 9. We're only 7. We're only 7.
64 is 5-2 and 65 was 7.
Yes.
7-0. 65? Yes.
No.
What did you have?
One abstain.
1 abstain.
6-1.
65 is 6.
Yes.
Yes, 6 and 1 abstention. 66 is 7. Passes 7-0. 66, 7-0. 65, Mr. Aguilar is abstaining, and 6 is 4.
65 is 6-1.
65 is only 1 abstain.
64 is 5-2. She said 4. That threw us
If we could have a president just direct the board
Okay, Ms.
secretary.
Perez, here we go again. 64, it's 5-4, 2 abstain.
I abstain on 64.
She means 4, like
4.
in favor, not the number 4.
Okay.
64, please. Please. 64 is 5-4. 5 pass, or agreed, and 2 abstain. Mr. Colunga abstained, and
Escobedo.
Dr. Escobedo.
No, 64 was not a Colunga.
Oh, 64 was you, Mr. Aguilar.
Not in Escobedo.
Ay, Aguilar and Escobedo abstain.
She got it.
65, it's 6-4, and 1 abstain. Aguilar abstain. 66 passes 7-0. 67, 7-0. 68, 7-0. 69, 7-0. 70, 7-0. 71, 7. Colunga abstain. 6-1. 1 abstained by Colunga. 72, Escobedo abstain.
Only on SPA.
Only on
correct.
SPA. And 73 is 7-0. That's it, ma'am.
No action on 74.
No action on 74, ma'am.
Or 75.
On 77, it's just as discussed with an executive session with the legal counsel.
So who made the motion for that?
The motion by Dr. Saavedra. Do I have a
Second.
second? Second by Ms. Peña. All those in favor? Aye, motion carries 7-0.
What item was that?
That's 77.
77. There was no action, was there?
No. There was just a discussion.
But that didn't. There was no action. No action. No action.
No action. We now go to announcements. Item number 79. Next scheduled board meeting of the Board of Trustees is on Tuesday, August 23rd, 2011 at 5:30. Do we have any other announcements, Dr. Montoya?
No, ma'am, no other announcement. Again, August 31st at 7 o'clock at Rivera High School summer graduation. But that's it.
276.
Action. No action. No action.
Yes,
as we agreed upon in
as agreed upon in
executive
executive session.
Yeah, 76.
As discussed.
As discussed and agreed upon.
Second.
I kind of thought that was
Those
72.
in favor
No,
that?
that was
No, that was 76.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
intro.
Yeah. 7-0, motion passes 7-0 on 76, Ms. Perez.
Moving right along.
Moving right along. Do I
move
have a motion to adjourn? Motion by
Second.
Dr. Saavedra, second by Ms. Peña. Motion carries 7-0.
Aye.
Good night, Brownsville.
I needed to cheer up.